Oh, my name is Ulrika Default-Manares. I'm from LiveAction. I joined LiveAction last year in August. I'll give you a little bit about my background. I started my career as a network engineer. I worked for Royal Bank of Canada and Canadian Pacific. From there, I joined Cisco in '95 as a software engineer. I spent about 9 years in software engineer and then joined the dark side 10 years after that. So most recently at Cisco, I was actually at the video collaboration group and joined LiveAction August of last year. Already feels like it's many years. So what I'm going to be going through, I just want to catch everybody up and go through a little bit about who the company is. We actually spoke with you guys, I think it was last year. And the reason we're here is we just introduced our new product, but I thought it would be good just to level set. So a little bit about the company. We started in 2007 from Hawaii. Most recently, we moved to, it was about last year, we moved our headquarters to Santa Clara. A lot of people wanted to come and visit us, and I wonder why. We closed our it was just about last year in September. We closed our Series A funding and a bunch of, it was actually led by Accelerated IT, and also Cisco made an investment. We did a lot of work with Cisco. We actually support a lot of the iOS technologies. And we are also on the Cisco's price list. And most recently, Cisco actually made us as a recommended vendor when it comes to the visualization tool and platform for their intelligent WAN. I think everybody calls that iWAN. So that's a little bit about the company. Now, LiveAction is really known to be an application-aware network performance monitoring tool. And the other thing people know us by is our ability to support QoS from a configuration perspective. Over the last few years, we were actually able to learn the different syntax and semantics of Cisco routers and switches. And we actually, you could actually use a GUI and just to be able to configure QoS. So a lot of our customers are interested in the tool, primarily for QoS, and recently also for the flow visualization as well. And of course, there's iWAN. So the modules that we have, we support flows. Actually, we ingest all kinds of flows like SFlow, IPFix, JFlow, you name it, as well as NetFlow. We also have support a variety of MIPS from a QoS perspective, and then QoS configuration via the GUI. We also do configuration for other features like NetFlow, IPSLA as well. There's also LAN module supporting the spanning tree, as well as the routing. We actually understand the routing protocol and also display that from our GUI. And there's also the IPSLA module for synthetic testing as well. So that's really the product that people know us by. Really a network performance monitoring tool. So now, customers use our tool for the WAN, as well as some actually extend it all the way to the campus. So the way that we look at, and I would say that visibility for us, most of our customers, they use the tool for visibility up to the data center edge, right? So the reason I want to emphasize that is we're not, we don't really do a whole lot in the data center. I think the tools that people use in the data center is it's quite different. So I do want to stress that point. So building on our strength, I look at the network as a resource that connects your user and your data center. And building on top of our strength, we want to give visibility all the way to the end user. And that's what we just announced on Monday. Now, just a little bit high level, what the new tool does. So a lot of customers are transitioning to the cloud. There's applications that they manage, and then there's also applications that they don't manage. And same thing on the network, users are mobile. So our philosophy is, hey, we want to be close to the users. And they're using the network to connect the dots. So we're going to, a lot of the tools I see is focusing on the, the applications that are actually in the data center. We're taking a different approach. It's from the network all the way to the users. And you see what I want to make sure I cover. And also on the internet side, right now, our tool if you go through the private network, on the managed network, of course, we have really good visibility. What's really lacking is, as they go, access the content in the SaaS or infrastructure as a service, we're beginning to lose that visibility. And this is why that we're adding, the new instrumentation just to be able to give you visibility of the unmanaged network, as well as from the end user experience perspective.
I just want to say, so when you're talking about the end user perspective, are you talking about getting data from a network-centric view all the way down to the end user? Or are you talking about actually getting data as the end user would see, what they're going to see from their perspective?
Yes, we're going to get the perceived end user experience as if what the end user would see. It's actually synthetic monitoring. Just let me jump to the, actually, just let me jump to 2 steps ahead.
So if it's synthetic, does that mean it's sampled and not real time?
It's synthetic. So what we do is that every 5 minutes we would go and hit. We would act the agent. Let's just step back a little bit. So what you would deploy agents. This would be like, think of it as additional instrumentation. You deploy agents in your environment within your enterprise. We also have agents. The other type of agents we call that global agents, where you deploy that. We actually deploy that. We currently have 14 different global agents deployed, hosted at AWS across the globe. So there are 2 types of agents. So the idea is synthetic in the sense that the agent would, every so often, would send a test to the particular websites that are of interest or that are important to you. So that's really perceived end user experience metrics. So the type of metrics we would get would be like, DNS resolution time, network time, time to first byte. We also will give you things like the page load time, etc. So that would be what the end user would see. But again, it's synthetic. We're not actually monitoring, doing passive monitoring.
But you can.
We can, we can with the flagship product. What you're going to see is that we actually will have a lot of integration with the LiveAction product, but not in the initial release. So we do, this would add the synthetic monitoring from an end user experience perspective. We'll be able to bring in the data sets, at least in the part of the network that you manage. We'll be able to bring in data sets from LiveAction if you're using capabilities in the routers to actually measure performance. But if you're getting that, you're really doing the measurements in the midpoint. What we're really trying to do is to be as close to the users as possible. A lot of the solutions from a passive monitoring, you drop a probe or you leverage, like devices, intelligent routers, and you do a sampling or even CDN. But they're capturing the end user experience at the midpoint. And what we're trying to do is really, hey, sit as close to the user as possible. In fact, I run the agent on my laptop. So I think it's as close as you could get to the users.
So you said the global agents are actually hosted with AWS?
Yes, the global agents are managed by us, and customers can use it. So they don't have to manage it. It's software, and they are currently hosted at AWS.
So it seemed to me that's not very close to the user in terms of.
That is true, but the idea is, hey, if I have a user who happened to be in Singapore and he's actually hitting a service that is hosted in my environment, he happens to be running that on the laptop, then it's as close as it could get. That is absolutely true. That's the global agent, and then we also have the private agent, and it actually comes in 2 different form factors. The private agent could be hardware, or it could be software. In the software, we actually ship it as OVA. And that's why I managed to run it on the laptop, and it's actually pretty, small form, really lightweight. We actually have a browser-like. It's not a full-blown browser. That's why I want to be very careful to saying that we made a decision to go with a lightweight agent so that you could actually, drop it on any device or hardware. That's what it's intended for. Lightweight, and run it on any hardware. So I'm going to go just, a little bit on the architecture, and then we can go right to the tool. I think it's much better to see it. Okay. But I think it's important to understand the architecture, right? So the agents are 2 types of agent. Global is in the cloud, right? And then this private is you could actually deploy it either outside or inside of the firewall. And this is hardware, or software again. And we have a hybrid architecture, honestly, these days. I mean, there's nothing just inside the firewall. Everything is hybrid. So we've chosen to put our controller. The controller actually controls the agents, both the global as well as private. And then there's a connector that, establishes between the controller and the actual, the live UX server that is sitting on-prem. And there's a really good reason why we chose this architecture. The reason is we want to be able to leverage the data set from LiveAction from, all the customers that are deploying LiveAction today. They're actually on-prem, ingesting all the NetFlow data, getting, like SNMP data. So in order for us to, leverage the network information, we chose to put the live UX server on-prem. But yet, we also realized that if you want to be close to the users are mobile, so they're either outside or inside the firewall. That's why we ended up having the hybrid architecture. So there's the cloud, the controller is in the cloud, and then the server is on-prem. It's secure communications between the private agent, the global agent, to the controller, and then also between the controller and the server.
So that means my data gets aggregated with everyone else's. My data that you collect gets aggregated with all the other users from other organizations.
From the users from the other organizations. So do you...
There's a private agent here. It goes up to the collector. I have no control over the collector.
Yeah, so the controller is acting more like a transient data store. So there's really no, it's designed to work within the, single organization. So I'm not sure.
Is that collector his collector if he buys his
On the one on the cloud?
Yeah.
No, that one is shared because okay, so with sorry, I misunderstood your question. So the controller is in the cloud that's collecting, agents information for all different customers. Let me also clarify something.
But it is a multi-tenant type situation, so it is kept separate, so there is no aggregation.
So some of us are kind of hesitant on cloud, and because of right now multi-tenancy is still very early, and we're worried about our information going someplace else. We listen to radio station WIFM. What's in it for me, for my data to go up into a cloud?
Right, so the data that is going into the cloud isn't explicitly shared. It isn't aggregated in any particular way. And the data that is sent up, it's just measurement data. So it would be, this is the service that was tested, here were the times that were tested. There's no record of who was the individual and things of that nature.
So if my security officer says no, can I bring that controller on premises
Yes.
and not have that external connection?
Yes.
No internet connection.
Yes, we could do that. I mean, we could actually host the cloud controller in the, on-prem as well. That's definitely an option. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood the question. Okay. The other thing I do want to point out is that the private agent, when you get the private agent installed, it already has the account information of that particular customer. So that actually makes it easy from a deployment perspective. Literally, you just plug it in, either it's a hardware or you load it on your VM or on your laptop or what have you. Then I'm going to show that to you in the demo, that it just shows up in the screen. So there's no registration. We decided to take care of the pre-staging to make it easy from a plug-and-play perspective.
And network analytics can be standard IPSLA as an example.
Standard IPSLA? I'm having trouble with
You mean like a ping and a responder, like an ICMP responder, like a jitter probe?
There's a bunch of probes.
Yeah, so the services right now that the agent does are basically web services. It does web services, it does ping, and it does traceroute.
Yes, it does traceroute.
And that's the extent of it.
Yeah, I had a similar question about IPSLA because the fact that, our flagship product actually does full support for IPSLA. I know it's a little jumping on a little bit on a roadmap item, but we're actually considering creating an abstraction. So right now, between the agent and agent, not right now, it's roadmap, sorry. So between an agent and agent, you could do ping and you can do the web server, HTTP tests and all that good stuff. But, like in the midpoint, because we also support IPSLA, there's no reason that we can't create a level of abstraction that you can now start to test to the endpoint as well as the midpoint as well, or even between the two routers once we figure out the route. So we did think about, that's why when you said IPSLA, I wasn't sure if that's what you were leading to.
What are the different options for the API abstractions? Like what?
So right now, the APIs are internal for our, we haven't actually externalized the API yet. Like, again, there's no reason why we wouldn't, do it. But these are internal APIs for us just to be able to do the GUI. By the way, it's all HTML5 based. Okay, I know. I watched the audio video.
Java? Java and Flash.
I almost forgot that one. So this is all HTML5 based.
But we love the fact that you knew that was coming. That question was only you. Let's be sure.
Because our flagship product is actually Java. We're actually bringing that onto this new platform as well. So that's why I think you're going to see a lot more integration with this new platform with the UX.
Real quick, I do have one question. I like the fact that you're so focused on the user experience because when we get complaints, we're getting complaints about user experience. The network may be perfect, right? But that doesn't matter if the user is seeing some poor performance or perceived poor performance. But the concern I have there is if the agent's on the end user device or as close to the end user as possible, and we're testing a server that's sitting in a different country. There's so many hops and so many intermediate pieces in between. How do we know where that breaks down?
Yeah, so I could definitely show that to you in the demo, right? But but that's a great question. That's why the demo is going to be better than me trying to verbalize it. But in short, right? So that's exactly why we want to be close to the agent, is because we wanted to be able to run trace routes, and what we want to, make it easy for the end users that, we'll be able to show all the different domains, for the most part, if you're sitting inside the firewall, at least your IT guys want to know that my part of the network, everything is hunky-dory. And then they wanted to see, the problem is really beyond the firewall. And that's exactly what we are trying to address with this end-user experience, tool that give you that visual that we may not be able to fix it for you, but at least, the mean time to innocence or even the mean time to repair, we would be able to do something significant. And funny you said that because one of my beta customers, he was a network guy because we traditionally sell to network engineers. So obviously my customers, the first one we hit was the network guys. And it was interesting that when I watched him, he said, "Oh, I need to bring in my web guys." So now it's, the web guys and the network guys are teaming up. So I was actually very excited about that. Your point about working closer with the application guys. And I think they really wanted a tool like this. And that's where we're going with this. Sysadmin's are back, I heard.
So kind of off of what he said, is it supportable to do like hierarchy agents? So have them stagger in key locations, then aggregate the data?
Yes, that's exactly, and you're going to see that in the demo that, the idea really is that, hey, when you have a customer complaining about bad response time, I just go in the dashboard and see, hey, is it happening to all my locations? Is it happening to outside of my network? Inside of my network, in a few clicks, right? I may not be able to troubleshoot a specific user experience because it's synthetic, but it's a very powerful tool from a systemic troubleshooting perspective. I actually did that, with my, this tool was deployed at a high school, at a Department of Education for 5 months. I saw that, and, it was real experience that, it's really, really interesting that very quick I knew that it was one school that was actually experiencing problems. Okay. And that's what they liked about it, too.
Okay.
Since this is synthetic, how does one import one's architecture into this? Because if you don't get the architecture right, then the synthetic is only good as the model you use. So garbage in, garbage out. I want it to be accurate of my architecture. So how do I import the architecture?
So there's the connection between from the agent, send that data back into the controller. I just want to make sure I understand your question.
If my architecture is one router and 3 switches, that's pretty simple, but it's not that. So how do I import my model so that you can do the analysis on that so that I can learn from that and take that to the real world? Sort of like a test and dev versus production.
If you're familiar with the main LiveAction product, it actually does topology discovery layer 2 and layer 3. And one of the things that's going to happen is that as you add these agents to your network, it'll understand which subnet is it connecting to, and because of that, where in the hierarchy of the actual network topology that's being.
But that's not this product. It's another product.
It's one product.
So how do you get into this product? I'm confused.
I'm what do you mean? How do you?
I'm going to restate the question.
Yeah, please. Sorry.
So I think the question is that there is a network topology. Mm-hmm. How do you understand how the agent is interacting with the network topology itself? Is that fair?
I don't know.
Where is it sitting in the network topology? Because part of troubleshooting and problem isolation does involve where exactly is this problem coming from? Is it relegated to this portion of the network or that portion of the network?
Well, it sounds like to me, and the way you're doing it, right, is the agent out here on the computer as it hits database or hits DNS resolution or hits whatever, your product is actually going to recognize the layer 2 hops, layer 3 hops, the subnet, as you go through that. So it's going to actually be able to tell you, this layer 2 port on this switch and this subnet and this path, and we think the difficulty is here, right? So it doesn't necessarily need to have a full topology map. It's going to just need where it's going, right? Is that accurate?
For the layer 3, for the ones that respond to trace route, but there's going to be layer 2 things there are maybe midpoints that we don't have the discovery portion of it. So it's always helpful to have the larger view. But yeah, you're absolutely right as well. It's shades of gray, I guess, is the difference.
I think maybe the problem is the idea that it's synthetic data, and I think really at first when I heard that I took it the wrong way. What I'm hearing now is the agents are running these GET requests and things along those lines.
Yes.
So when we say synthetic data, what we're really saying is it's the agent experience,
Yes.
not simulated data.
So that's where the IPSLA question was probably coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a IPSLA instrumented special packet or anything like that. It's like a wget.
Right.
It's like a wget, but it parses through the response and it finds the other objects and it downloads them as well.
So can you do both then? The standard IPSLA monitoring plus the agents? Because what I'm interested in is the total user experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we do.
Bunch of parts.
I think it's much easier if I show that to you. Yes, I describe the agent as a virtual user. It does have the agent does have a browser-like function embedded. So when we go and hit the website, it actually decodes that, meaning that it's going to download all the style sheet, JavaScript, all those you'll be able to see, for each object, what's the response time, TCP connect time, and everything. So it is still synthetic monitoring, but it actually decodes a lot of the end user for example, you can see on the DNS, you can actually see that page, we direct you to another site, and there's a lot of TCP connect just to be able to get that object. You actually will see all that. Again, the waterfall report that I'm going to show you, you will see that. And hopefully that will clarify the confusion.